Hey YouTube, thanks for joining in today and watching the channel. Today we're going to talk about shaping. So what is shaping? Shaping is a behavioral technique that we use in applied behavioral analysis that involves reinforcing successive approximations of target behavior. It's used to teach new behaviors by gradually reinforcing responses that are closer and closer to the desired behavior while no longer reinforcing earlier or less accurate behaviors. Shaping's actually one of my favorite procedures to use in ABA. I think there's a lot of pros and cons, or a lot of pros to it. Um, and all this really means is we may have a long-term goal that we want to reach. Like for example, we may have a kid that can only say but we want them to be able to say apple, to ask for apple. And so the apple will be what we would call the target behavior that we want to reach. And the successive approximations may be saying app, and then finally apple. And so over time, you can shape that behavior of saying by reinforcing and then reinforcing app and then reinforcing apple to get that desired outcome that you want to have. So there's several components to shaping. First, like I said, you want to select the target behavior. That's going to be your final goal. And as always with ABA, we want it to be objective. We want it to be measurable. Um, we want it to other people to be able to see our procedure and be able to replicate it. So shaping involves successive approximations. And really all that is just small little steps that slowly build over time to get to that final goal that we want to see. And shaping uses what we call differential reinforcement, which is just reinforcing um, approximations, and then as they slowly master those earlier approximations and get good at that, we'll add another step into there, and we'll no longer reinforce the earlier approximations, just the later ones. And so it combines reinforcement and extinction, which is just withholding reinforcement from previous approximations. There's several steps involved in creating a shaping procedure. For one, you want to define the target behavior. You want to create basically an end goal of what you want to see. And then you want to determine what the client's baseline is. What can they do? So if you want them to ask for apple by saying apple, and they can only say the target behavior will be apple, but the is going to be the starting behavior, and there'll be several approximations along the way. And then you want to select powerful reinforcers, reinforcers that you know are high preference to the client and that will help increase that behavior in the future. Um, and then, yes, like I said, identify the successive approximations. So in this example, would be the first approximation that we would reinforce, and then app would be the second approximation, and then pull apple would be the third approximation. And so you slowly reinforce each one of those and put the previous one on extinction. So for example, if the client gets to the point where they can say all the time, you'll want to put that on extinction and make the requirement for reinforcement app. And as you do that and you reinforce the app, and they meet that goal, then you'll put app on extinction, and then you'll have them say the whole word apple. And you basically just continue this little shaping process until the terminal or end target behavior has occurred. There's a whole bunch of applications for this. I feel like the most common example people give is like the apple example is teaching a child to speak. So you start by reinforcing sounds and syllables, then full words, and you can even go into multiple words or sentences. Toilet training is another common example because there's a lot of steps, and you can always use shaping and chaining together because often there's a big chain. There's like a set of behaviors that are required to complete a full task. So when you use the bathroom, you have to sit on the toilet, you have to pee in the toilet, you have to wipe and flush, and you gotta wash your hands. One of the things I'm doing right now with using shaping is trying to shape social skills. So with my client, I started with having him asking a friend to play, and I would reinforce each time he asked a friend to play because he had some anxiety and um, struggled a little bit with that at the start. And as he got confident with asking a friend to play, then we started slowly introducing the second part of that, which was introducing yourself. Um, so I would have him not only ask a friend to play, but say, "Hey, my name is so and so," and then slowly added making some small talk in there to as the terminal behavior. Because what we want with social skills is for a kid to be able to make friends, join a group, and have a full-on conversation. And if you break that down into smaller steps, there's usually a whole bunch of little behaviors that kind of add up towards that. So you can always shape those things. Another one that I like to use that I feel like is less common is sometimes you have some kids with ODD or who really don't like to be told what to do or have some strong resistance to things like cleaning. So if you have a kid who won't clean his room, you can always start by like helping them do part of it and then say, okay, I picked up the trash. I just need you to pick up your clothes. And then next time you can have them pick up the trash and the clothes and slowly shape that. Because I feel like one thing with shaping is you can always kind of humble yourself and help them a little bit too. So there's several advantages for shaping. It allows for teaching complex and non-occurring behaviors. It builds confidence through gradual success, and it's really flexible and adaptable to individual needs. Some of the cons are it can be time consuming. Shaping takes a lot longer, I feel like, than um, airless teaching or some of those things. It requires close observation and data collection, and sometimes you have a risk of reinforcing inappropriate behaviors if not implemented correctly, because sometimes things like that can occur while you have shaping, while you're doing your shaping procedure. Yeah, and that was my presentation. Thank you.